A holiday bike ride ended with 2 cyclists in the hospital and an emergency room doctor charged with road rage. Tonight, the injured men are speaking exclusively to CBS 2 about the Independence Day accident. CBS 2's Glenn Walker reports from Brentwood.
Mandeville Canyon Road is a popular run for cyclists, but on the morning of July 4th, Ron Peterson and Christian Storr were both seriously injured. After exchanging words with a passing driver, they say the driver intentionally slammed on his brakes.
So I hit the back of his car with my face at probably 25 miles an hour.
I flipped over my own front wheel and clipped his trunk.
While Storr separated his shoulder, Peterson suffered 2 broken teeth and a busted and bloody nose. His $5,500 bike, a total loss. As for the driver,
he pops out, looks like he's on his phone, and says, "I'm a doctor," but didn't offer any help. I, of course, yelled, "Get away from me."
He started yelling at me to move my effing bike, out of the street, and profanities like that. And at that point, I kind of stumbled onto the hood of his car because I thought he was going to take off.
The driver of the car arrested and charged with assault with an automobile is indeed a doctor. Christopher Thompson also lives in this gated home on Mandeville Canyon Road. His neighbor, Eric Hill.
It's a very tight road without a bicycle lane, and there are quite a few cyclists up here, so there's bound to something to happen with that many cyclists, riding up and down every morning.
Peterson and Storr came forward with their story because they wanted to remind motorists of what little protection cyclists have when they are out on the road. As for Dr. Thompson, he will face arraignment at the LAX courthouse on August 1st. In Brentwood, Glenn Walker, CBS 2 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Dave Gonzalez.
Hello everyone, I'm Mia Lee. A former emergency room doctor tries to avoid cameras after a court appearance this morning. He was charged with felony reckless driving for allegedly causing 2 cyclists to crash on Mandeville Canyon Road. KCAL 9's Melissa McCarty's live now in Brentwood with the very latest on the court action there. Melissa?
The Brentwood physician pled not guilty during the arraignment this morning, and now both parties must prepare for a preliminary hearing. Now, all of this stems from a horrible collision on Mandeville Canyon Road that is here in Brentwood. It happened on July 4th when 2 cyclists were riding side by side up the canyon, and according to the victims, Dr. Christopher Thompson slammed on his brakes deliberately, causing the cyclist to slam into the back of his Infiniti sedan. One suffered a broken front teeth, cuts on his face, and a broken nose nearly severed off. The other cyclist suffered shoulder separation. Now, in court today, Dr. Thompson's defense attorney says his client regrets the incident, wishes the victims a speedy recovery, but says Thompson did nothing wrong.
Since this matter occurred, Dr. Thompson has been the subject of several threats by telephone, by internet, and in person. And I would ask all parties to calm down and lower the heat and let the process work its way.
His attorney there pleading for a due process. Now, Mandeville Canyon is a very popular stretch of road for cyclists, perhaps even to the annoyance of some motorists and residents in the area. There are other allegations on record stating Dr. Thompson allegedly tried to run other cyclists off the very same road back in March. The DA's office never pressed charges. Now, when asked the DA's office if they were going to reopen this case and further investigate to add it to the current one, they said they simply can't comment at this time, and that is something that they're going to have to look into. Now, again, Dr. Thomas facing 4 felony charges. If guilty, he could face up to 7 years in prison. That is the very latest in Brentwood. Melissa McCarty, KCAL 9 News.
Southern California doctor accused of a road rage attack pleaded not guilty this morning. Christopher Thompson is charged with reckless driving and battery. He's accused of causing a collision involving 2 bicyclists in Brentwood on July 4th. The victims, Ron Peterson and Christian Storr, were both seriously injured after exchanging words with Thompson. They say he intentionally slammed on his brakes, causing the bicyclist to slam into the back of the car.
Dr. Thompson, again, regrets the incident and continues to hope for the speedy and full recovery of the other people involved here. Thank you very much.
Thompson is expected to be back in court next month for a preliminary hearing.
A former doctor accused of causing a collision with 2 bicyclists says he's innocent
The collision happened on Mandeville Canyon Road in Brentwood. That's where the doctor allegedly slammed on his brakes, causing the cyclist to crash into the rear of his car. Michael Brownlee is live tonight with details of the doctor's arraignment and the condition of the cyclist. Michael?
That's right, Christine. One of the cyclists suffered a separated shoulder. The other's injuries are much more serious. We'll talk about those in just a second. But this isn't the first motorist versus bicyclist accident on this stretch of Mandeville Canyon Road. In fact, this just happens to be one of the most publicized. I'll take you back to July 4th. These two bicyclists were riding side by side. They were sharing the lane. Well, that's not considered illegal. But when a motorist takes his car, crosses the double yellow line to get in front of those bicyclists, well, that is. And that's exactly what this former doctor's being accused of, and much more. Mandeville Canyon Road, where the lanes are narrow, the shoulders are near non-existent, and despite the goodwill message at the lip of the road, the right-of-way battle that wages on here took a violent turn.
They really could have been killed. They are lucky they are still alive.
That became evident this last July 4th. These pictures posted on the internet detail the injuries two bicyclists suffered when they say this man, Dr. Christopher Thompson, first yelled at them, then purposely pulled the sedan in front of their bikes and slammed on the brakes. Reaction from cyclist Stephen Box, who was not involved in the collision.
One had the opportunity to avoid the car, clipping it and then flying through the air and hitting the road. The other cyclist went straight through the back window, leaving his front teeth in the back seat.
That injury suffered by 49-year-old Ron Peterson, who is still in the hospital. His nose was also severed. It has since been surgically reattached. Thompson first pleading not guilty to date to multiple counts of reckless driving and battery. No. Thompson then being kept away from the press. His attorney telling the media, among other things, that his client, since the holiday road rage incident, has received death threats.
Dr. Thompson, again, regrets the incident and continues to hope for the speedy and full recovery of the other people involved here.
A task force has since been set up to deal with safety issues that face both drivers and bicyclists on Mandeville Canyon Road. 6 precious miles of roadway. Neither motorist nor cyclist is willing to relinquish without a fight.
We have to ride somewhere. If you have some better place where we could ride, where it's safer, I would be happy to ride there.
And the LAPD also revealed that this isn't the first type of incident that the doctor's been involved in. He was involved last March with 2 other cyclists. In regards to this case, he's due back in court September 12th. Reporting live in Brentwood tonight, I'm Michael Brownlee, Fox 11 News.
Arrested on felony charges in connection with a car versus bicycle road rage incident that seriously injured 2 cyclists. Eyewitness News reporter Micah Ullman is live now in the Sepulveda Pass with the latest on these new developments. Micah.
Well, Mark, we're talking about a problem that's just not getting any better, especially along these narrow roads through the hills of Los Angeles. Motorists and bicyclists sharing the road. For the first time since the accident, 6-time state cycling champion Ron Peterson looks at what's left of his bike with a shattered nose 100 stitches later.
Next thing I knew, I was in the back of his window.
Christian Storr contemplates life out of work for 6 months to a year with a separated shoulder in need of surgery.
Almost all the way, I think I clipped the back of the trunk and then ended up flying over myself and landed in the middle of the road.
Peterson and Storr were 2 of 300 cyclists on a holiday ride through Brentwood's Mandeville Canyon on the 4th of July. A popular canyon for cycling, even with its narrow roads. Police say one angry resident, tired of the cyclists, took matters into his own hands as he drove through Mandeville Canyon.
He yelled something about single file. I yelled back. He pulled in front of us and came to a complete stop. Slammed on his brakes as hard as he could.
Storr had no time to react.
I flipped over the handlebars.
Peterson's face slammed into the rear window of the car. He says the driver was angry at the cyclists for getting in his way.
That's like beating your neighbor with a bat after his dog poops in your yard.
City Councilman Bill Rosendahl is now stepping in to hold a community meeting.
We have to find a way to slow them down a little bit, the cars, first of all. Bicyclists have the rights just like any other vehicle on the road, and they need a Bill of Rights.
Rosendahl says this is a tragic example of a growing problem in Los Angeles, unwillingness to share the road.
So we're going to be calling the bicyclists together with the homeowner groups, with the LAPD, and the Department of Transportation, and see how this can be avoided and that it never, ever happens again.
The man accused in all of this, 58-year-old Dr. Christopher Thompson, He's out now, but he was arrested at the scene facing possible felony charges of assault with a deadly weapon. Expect a community